Welcome to Just Another Game Review. I'm Zach, this is Randy, and today we're going to talk to you about all things Final Fantasy VII.
Well, like my friend just said, my name is Randy. His name is Zach, I think. And we're going to start making videos doing just, random game reviews, probably some retro, some new, just, whatever games we like. Maybe even games we hate that we want to let you know suck. We might do that too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so, we're not trying to be internet famous or make a bunch of money.
Speak for yourself. I'm going to be famous.
We just got a lot of free time. We like playing video games, so that's what we're going to do.
Alright, as he just said, we plan on doing a lot of video games. Everything that we love, everything that we hate, everything that we've never even heard about and want to experience for the first time along with you guys. And we had a debate over what the first game that we should do is, and we figured it should be something that we're pretty passionate about. And with the recent E3 and the popularity of the remake of Final Fantasy VII, we thought it'd be a really good time to talk about the original Final Fantasy VII, its ports, and if it's still worth playing today, honestly.
So I guess a lot of people would ask, what is Final Fantasy VII?
Well, hopefully a lot of people already know because it is an amazing game. But if you haven't before, if you're younger, or if you just never got a chance when it came out, Final Fantasy VII was made by Square in '97. It is a Japanese role-playing game.
That means it was made in Japan, right?
That's exactly what it means.
Okay.
No, JRPG or Japanese role-playing game is more of a style of role-playing game. It's the way that the characters, look, act, the way that their development is presented, and more things like the battle system and stuff also. It ties in turn-based and stuff like that. A lot of grinding. JRPGs are famous for grinding for levels.
I love grinding.
Yeah, I bet you do. So, like I said originally, Square made it in '97, and when it first came over here, when it was on its way, they just promoted the heck out of the game. The marketing was huge for it, and it was everywhere. Commercials, billboards, magazines. I remember I was really young. I was only 7 at the time, but I remember opening, I think it was PlayStation magazine, and it was just like a 2-page scrolling.
Was it made by PlayStation?
It was for PlayStation, but not made by PlayStation.
Okay. Just making sure.
But did you play it when it first came out?
No. I didn't even know what Final Fantasy was. I've played an RPG. I think Super Mario RPG was like the only RPG experience I had had. I had a demo disc for PC that it was on. It had the battle arena and
I think that was a little bit later, like maybe a year later it came out for PC.
But I got it I played the demo, then I got it for $27 at a flea market because the demo was that, what?
How in the heck do you remember the exact amount of money?
I remember because the case had a tag on it.
You kept it there for years?
Well, I meant till someone borrowed it and destroyed it, but I just remember that price tag being on it, so that's how I remember the price. Yeah. But I remember playing the demo, and it looked just beautiful, and it had been nothing like I ever played before, so I was like, you know what? I'm getting that game.
And that was the PC version, right?
Yes.
The demo, which was really buggy and stuff, and nowhere near as good as the PlayStation, so that's saying something. If it's nowhere near as good as the normal version of the game, and it still pulled you in that hard.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I played it until a few years later. It was either right before or right after Final Fantasy IX had come out, so maybe '99. And actually, of all places to play it for the first time, I borrowed it from my stepdad's mom. I guess it would be my step-grandma, even though, I never called her step-grandma. Anyway, if you're watching this, Rhonda, thanks. Yeah, she let me borrow it, and I did not get too far in the game. Not from lack of trying, I just was too young.
So your grandma let you borrow Final Fantasy VII because she had it?
Correct.
That is crazy.
Why is that crazy?
I've never heard of any grandma in the history of grandmas play any Final Fantasy, so...
The history of grandmas is really long, too. You would think that... No, she had all the Final Fantasy. That's the only thing she played. Man, she was fantastic at Tactics.
Really?
Yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics. I watched her play that forever.
That's a good game, by the way.
Yeah, but
Side
yeah, I think I borrowed it for a little bit. I didn't get too far. I never made it out of Midgar, but years later I bought it for myself, and I was in middle school at the time. I was probably 12, maybe 13, and I played the heck out of it. Oh man, I got so engrossed in it, just lost myself. You know what? My sister sat and watched me play it too, and she like I remember one day I faked sick and stayed home from school, and I played it, and she came back from school and saw that I was like, oh God, I was way farther than when she left, and she was so mad at me. She didn't talk to me for a couple days. All right, so let's get into whether or not the game's still worth playing today. What do you think about graphically? Does it stand up?
No, not at all.
Quick to that.
Yep.
Why not?
Well, I mean, if you're going to compare it to today's graphics, it's a little shit.
Yeah, it isn't very good. It's not just that it's outdated. PlayStation 1 graphics in general don't stand up well. Like Super Nintendo and Sega and even NES stand up better, I think. It's the polygon style. Just it doesn't translate well to today, especially not the 3D parts.
Especially on a 4K TV, it looks brutal.
Yeah, it does look pretty brutal. There are ways to make it look better. There's a few HD remakes, not remakes, remasters. A few HD remasters. There's one on Steam, PlayStation 4, Switch, and we did play through some of those.
Yeah, but when you come down to it, you can't polish a turd.
You really can't. The art style, though, I will say this: the backgrounds, though outdated, I really like the picture backgrounds that they draw. They're pretty
really good.
Yeah, I really like that. It's just the actual character models and stuff that I don't think stand up very well. What does stand up, though, is the music. I absolutely love this game's music. Yeah, I actually, the only game I've ever bought a soundtrack to, and well worth it, by the way. Everything to it, from the opening theme, the bombing mission, to One Winged Angel, and everything in between it's amazing.
What this game does a really good job of is the right music at the right time. There is one scene that I know you know very well about.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm not gonna go in detail, but it was like this really gut wrenching part, and then like the cue that they use with the little
Yeah, how the piano keys hit as the same time as materia hits the ground.
Yeah,
it's very, it really does. It like hits you right in the heart, and the music is the main part for that, I think. Honestly,
yeah, definitely.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Character development is really good in Final Fantasy VII. It's not the best, but it gets the job done. The story in general to Final Fantasy VII, I thought was really good. Replaying it, it's a little bit corny. Honestly, it's a little corny at times.
I mean, there's parts that's corny.
Yeah.
Some is kind of spotty, but I mean, there's a lot of skeptics with the story. Some people say that it don't make any sense at all, which I disagree with.
Replaying it recently, I really paid attention more. I mean, it's been probably 15 years since I played it last.
Well, you start off in Midgar, which is kind of a
it's like a steampunk city, sort of.
Yeah.
It's this floating, not floating. There's pillars, but it's this disc, and then all of the richer people, not rich, but all the higher up people live above the disc, and all of the peasants live. Yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty much where the heart of the story. I mean, the way they did it, the way you start there, and you meet all the characters, and actually for the first 8 hours, you think the entire game is going to take place in that one city, and then, boom, like you get out of that city and you realize that your whole world was just one dot on the map.
Yeah, that was a big moment for me.
Yes.
That was the first game I played with like an overworld.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was getting to I'd never played an RPG before. This was my first RPG. And when I was coming to the end of the Midgar section, and I was climbing Shinra Tower and stuff, I thought that was the end of the game. I got to where the president was, and I was like, well, this is it. This has been a really good game. I mean, 8 hours was a really long time for a game for me. And then the world just opens up, and I'm like, Oh,
Yeah.
this is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it was massive.
You start off. You play the majority of the game as Cloud, who is the main character, and when he starts off, he's just this hard ass mercenary with a big ass sword who only cares
Really big
about
sword.
huh?
A really big
A
sword.
really big sword. Like
I don't even know how he carries it.
yeah, and I remember I had a strategy guy had a picture of him, and his
Yeah.
armor's only this big around, and he's got this big ass sword. He uses one hand. I'm like, how does he carry it? Yeah, and in the beginning of the game, he starts off as this mercenary whose only focus is the job at hand and getting paid for it.
Hmm.
But then, as time goes on, he grows, and you grow with him. I think you meet a lot of people along the way.
A lot of really good characters, honestly.
Yes.
I think Barrett might be the one I like the least. Maybe Kate Sith. Actually, Kate Sith, but I don't like. And it's not necessarily the character of Barrett. I think it's more of the translation,
Yeah,
like where it came from Japan first, and they translate.
'cause
They
it's
just
a
made him.
JRPG.
Yes, it is a JRPG, but they really made him sound just like a generic Mr. T knockoff.
Yeah.
I didn't care for that, but
Yeah.
all the other characters I really enjoyed.
Yes.
Tifa, Cloud, Yuffie, even Vincent. Vincent was great, and Red
Yeah.
13, and obviously Aerith.
Oh,
Ares,
jeez.
however
A
you
lot of
wanna say
people.
it.
I was surprised, like from the videos I watched, a lot of people didn't like using her, but I always used her, like just because. I mean, even before I knew.
Yeah, the connection between her and Cloud, you just felt like you had to use her.
Yeah,
See, I wasn't like that. I mainly stuck to. My main party was Barrett and Tifa for the longest time. I mean, I use everyone just so they level up and everything, but I really just felt like those were the three main characters and they should be in my party.
yeah.
And then,
Another big point I think we should throw in is the materia system because
we should talk about the battle system in general.
yeah, well, I mean, with the materia system, you can use whoever you want. Like in a lot of RPGs, a lot of people like you can pick their classes and use like in some of them,
Mhm.
and some of them like 9 or 4, they're you know what I'm saying, they're locked into their jobs and they can only do certain things.
Yeah, every character is a predetermined class.
Yeah,
you
but
get Rydia, you know she's the mage.
Yes, but in 7 with the materia, you can let anybody do whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean, you can be hybrid classes. You can give Cloud counter and make him kind of a tank, and also give him cure magic and life restoring magic and summons, and he can be everything.
Yeah,
But
and-
every character can do that.
Yeah, so it's like you can have just pick the 3 characters you want based on your personal preference, and then they can do whatever you need them to do.
I really liked the materia system is one of my favorite systems in any of the Final Fantasies, but the battle system in general is really good. A lot of people don't like turn-based battle systems; they think they're outdated. I personally think that it's a really good system that kind of
Yes.
just stands the test of time.
It does.
The amount of strategy and everything, it might not be the flashiest, but it's satisfying. And it lets you use all the characters without feeling limited. Like nowadays games, if you have, let's say, a party like 15, you have a party of characters, but you're really only using one character, and the computer's doing 3/4 of the game, you know. And along with the materia system, not only do you have healing magics, you have attacking magic, fire, ice, you have support, things that
You even got regular attacks.
yeah, you can do like double cuts and stuff like that also with the materia, like adding different support magics, and you can even do like HP ups and stuff. But my favorite was always the summon materia. There are a ridiculous amount of summons, and you can use any of them you want. They all level up, and some of them are just absolutely fun. But I think the one thing that kind of sucked, like let's say you're using Knights of the Round, man, you use it, and the first time it just feels absolutely epic. It's like, oh God, it's a few minutes long, it feels like. And then the second time you use it, it's still a few minutes long, and it is unskippable. But
Yeah,
it might.
you
It's,
end up not using it.
yeah, you just stop using it if you can even get to it, because it's one of the hardest side quests in the game to obtain that.
Yes, and that's another great thing about the game is, I mean, the game is 40 to 50 hours, just the story, but there is a ton of other things to do. I mean, you got the gold saucer, you got the whole chocobo side quest where you can breed and race chocobos.
Oh, that takes forever.
Which is how you get that materia, in case you didn't know. You got bonus story things, like if you go to certain places with certain characters,
Yeah, they have
certain cutscenes. There's bonus characters that you can actually skip if you don't, like if you say, I don't like this person, they suck, you don't have to get them.
Yeah.
But one of them's pretty cool, so I like both of them. So
I like both of the optional characters.
Yeah, and they both actually one of them's got her own town that you can go to. When a lot of the main characters have their own town and music, their own theme song that like if you go to their music's playing.
Yeah.
So and you get there and it kind of fleshes out their story in their town. So they all got kind of their own quest to figure out who they are. And then you got the gold saucer, which I mean you can spend hours there and
Yeah, it's a 3-disc game, which was massive for
Which is
PlayStation 1 originally. I mean,
3 single disc, right?
yeah. That is how math works actually. And the game is actually pretty much wrapped up by the end of disc 2. When you put in disc 3, all you're doing is going to the end of the game.
And
Fine.
side quest.
And side quest. The whole third disc is basically side quest. You've got the ultimate weapons, chocobo breeding, like you said, anything that you missed throughout the game. I mean, there's some other missable side quests early on in the game. If you don't do them early on, you miss them. But there's a ton of stuff. You can get everyone's ultimate weapons. It's you can easily get probably 80 hours out of the game. I would say easily.
Easy. Except for the new version, because you can fast forward ×4, I think.
×3.
×3?
Yeah. Yeah, that really brings us to the different versions that you can play.
Yes.
The original PlayStation 1 one, which is... I started, when we were getting ready to review this, I started playing the PlayStation 1 one, and then I switched to the PS4 version, which I think is basically the same as the Steam and the Switch version. And that's the one I would recommend. You're not missing out. There's nothing you're missing out by doing the new versions or the old version.
No.
The only thing you get with the new versions are ×3 speed.
Better graphics. Kind
Yeah,
of. Polished.
It polishes up the character models, but they couldn't do anything to the backgrounds.
Because they were pre-rendered.
They're pre-rendered, and when the new character models are interacting with the backgrounds, it really looks a mess sometimes. So I honestly... It's good and bad with the new character models.
Yeah.
It really takes away from the backgrounds, I think. But you get the ×3 speed, which really, really helps grinding. Oh, I loved it. I almost kept it on most of the time. And you get...
The God mode.
Yeah, God mode, basically. You
can still get a game over if somebody one-shots your whole party. But as long as... If you got that on, as long as one person has at least 1 HP, he'll just heal up with their limit break. Which is cool.
You automatically get full health and a limit break, and every time you take a hit, it re-heals you back to full. And every time you use your limit break, it gives you another. So that brings us to the review. Do you think that it's worth playing today?
Only if you're a fan of RPGs or JRPGs, because it was made in Japan.
That is true.
But if you're not, I mean, if that's not your style, then no. But if you, like you said, if you're a fan of the series, if you enjoy that style, yes, definitely.
I highly recommend if you've played it before, but it's been a while. I would give it another playthrough.
Only with the 3x speed, though.
Yeah, I really I recommend playing one of the newer versions just for the 3x speed. It really helped the grinding. I played through, I think, in probably 20 hours. I beat the game.
Quick.
It was really quick. I know 20 hours doesn't seem really quick, but for a game of this stature, it really is. But yeah, I noticed a lot of things that I didn't notice before, and I really had a good time playing it. I did that 20 hours in like 2 days.
Yeah.
My wife was getting mad at me for playing so much. But
There's just so much you can do. I mean, you start off with the bombing mission, and then you're buying a flower, and then you're racing a motorcycle, and you're playing games, the gold saucer, and then you're in a slapping contest on top of a cannon, and then you see this big monster weapon thing get shot in the face by that cannon, and then you figure you're in your own head in a cutscene that it was part of the confusing
and now you
story.
don't need to play the game because you just heard it all. Just kidding. So what would you rate this game now? Like, not back when it was first made. How does it stand up? What would you rate this?
Today, like graphics and everything as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I would give it a 7.2.
A 7.2. I honestly would still give it probably... I'm going to say an 8.5.
8.5.
The graphics, to me, I really enjoy a good story, and the gameplay was it really didn't need a lot of tweaking. I think the game actually holds up really well today.
Yeah.
Some of the story was a little bit convoluted, but the graphics never bothered me too much. I had a really good time with it.
Hell yeah. Well, that was our very first, or this is the end of our very first video, and we probably sucked a little bit, and hopefully we get better. But if you did enjoy it, just hit that like button, and there's another button, I think it's called subscribe.
Yes.
If you want to see any more of our videos that we might put out, we don't know what they're going to be yet. So.
Yeah, after we watch this, we might just quit forever.
But my name's Randy, this is Zach, and this was just another game review.
We should have had a script.